So now that we've skinned our head here, we can see that we have quite a bit of editing to do. Scroll through the range of motion here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the smooth skin weights in two stages. This first lesson is going to be very broad strokes, basically nailing down specific volumes, basically dealing with the mouth weights here, locking down the base of the neck, making sure the ears don't affect other parts of the model, that type of thing. In the second part, we're going to go in and further refine this weighting. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my selection mask so that I can only select geometry. Select this model, and in the animation module, select skin, edit smooth skin. We're going to go to the paint smooth skin weights tool in the option box. Okay, so I'm going to set my brush to the solid brush, the opacity to 1. I'm going to set my paint operations to replace. Since I'm in just very broad strokes, I'm going to be setting these weights to values like 1, 0.5, and so forth. Okay, let me enlarge my brush here. So I'm going to start with the base of the neck, making sure that that's locked down to the chest and then the successive neck joints. So here's the chest joint here. So I'll just start by painting the first two rows. Once again, I'm just working in a very loose, broad manner. We'll go in and refine later on. So again, I switch back and forth to the wireframe mode so I can see where my joints are lining up. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the neck joint, which is on the ribbon. And so all the joints that I'm using now, the chest, and the ribbon neck joints, are coming from the rig previously built in the rigging for Feature Animation DVD. So although that rig was built earlier, I mean, this could be any type of neck geometry. So basically, just locking this down a bit more to the neck here. So however you've built your neck, this should still work. Okay, then go to the base here, and I'm painting up to the center line because I'm going to mirror the weights across from time to time so that we only have to deal with one side here since it's a perfectly symmetrical model. Once again, I'm not really thinking about refinement at this point, just keeping things in place, so to speak. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, let's mirror this across real quick. I'll switch to a front view here. I'm going to pick all the vertices, then deselect the center vertices, and switch to wireframe and make sure that we have all those. I've accidentally deselected a few here. Okay. At this point, we want to create a quick select set so that we can continually select this set of vertices to mirror from time to time. We can do that by selecting Create, Sets, Quick Select Set, and then we simply type in a name for our set here. This is an arbitrary name. It can be whatever makes sense to you. Since we have that set selected, switch back to object mode. We can select Edit, Quick Select Sets, and that will list all of your quick select sets. Click on one of them and it selects all those center head verts. Okay, so with those selected, I'm going to select Skin, Edit Smooth Skin, Mirror Skin Weights. Let's open the option box. So the YZ plane cuts down the center of this character. Here's the YZ plane here. So we're going to mirror across from the positive X to the negative X. So once again, our mirror cross axis is YZ, and the direction is from the positive X, from the left of the character, to the right of the character, which is negative X. So click mirror. Okay, so there we have the base of our neck. That's how we're going to flip the weights across. Okay, let's go back to our Paint Weights tool here. Let's continue just roughing these in. So now I'm going to move to the brow and head area. Enlarge our brush here a bit. Once again, I'm still working with a solid brush, opacity of 100, replace, and a value of 100. Okay, so I'm going to go to the head 1 joint. Let me fix something real quick with the neck 1. Okay, so I'm going to go to the head 1 joint. This pivot being at the base here. Let's check to see how this motion is working at this point. Okay, we'll just start filling this in at 100%. At this point, don't be afraid to make mistakes, so to speak. You can easily go back at this stage and correct anything that's being done. As a matter of fact, at this stage, a lot of experimentation takes place on my part. Okay, I'm going to move to head 3. And I like starting out with flooding areas or replacing areas with 100% weights. I like doing that because it gives me a normalized value to start working from. So I know that all of these weights are at 100%, and then I can selectively add other influences into that area so that I know, basically I know the starting point for a specific area. Since the beginning point will be, in many cases, 100%. Okay, so this top head joint, I'm going to use that to influence everything up to the eye orbit. Okay, let's get inside this eyeball here. Start painting the eye socket. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to extend this down to the upper jawline. Okay, let's do a quick mirror. So once again, skin, edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights. We have the same option, so we don't need to select our option box the second time around. Okay, so once again, the goal at this stage is just to keep volumes together. So I'm just starting at the base and working my way forward. Okay, so now we're going to start with the upper jaw. Okay, so this first up jaw joint starts at the base of the nose here. Let's make this brush a little smaller. So I'm basically going to go to the center of the mouth here. Okay, so this is a pretty broad influence going all the way across the from the base of the nose to the end of the nostrils. And although this character has a highly stylized face, it's basically a stylization on a human face. You know, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, a jaw, upper lower lips. So depending upon the size and proportion of your character's face, you can have a similar joint structure. It's just that with his long jaw, I've added in extra joints just to accommodate the amount of flexibility I'll want in those areas. Okay, let's go to the second jaw joint. I like switching back and forth from the wireframe mode so I can see the edges that a certain joint will influence. Now, typically the mouth and lips require quite a bit of work to get the deformations working just right. So even with this initial weighting, we'll quickly see that it's going to take a lot more work to get it working just right. Okay, actually there's one joint I'm going to rename quickly. Okay. Okay, let's do a quick mirror. Okay, so at this point with the jaw, what I'm basically doing is I'm weighting 100% from a certain line up. It is basically the corner of the mouth. And from here up is 100% to the upper mouth and lip joints. And I'm going to repeat that process with the bottom. This will be weighted 100% from this line down. And then I'll go in and start tapering those weights. Once again, working on a very rough level. Okay, so let's start with the low lip. Oh. More quick renaming. Some joints here that have a slightly incorrect name. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with the low lip. One more rename. Okay. Well, this housekeeping should be done at this point. Let's go back in and start some weighting. Okay, so that's our end lip joint. Once again, this is going to be a very tricky area, but we'll just get it working in a very gross or basic level. Still working at 100% weights. Yeah, this entire corner area, as we'll see soon, is going to be quite interesting and require quite a bit of work. Okay, back to adding in these draw weights. Once again, switching back and forth in the wireframe mode so I can see which the extent or the edges that these joints will fall on. Often I will switch to wireframe mode, place my cursor over the edge that aligns to a joint pivot, and then switch back to shaded mode without moving my cursor so I can still have an indication of where that where I want to start painting in that influence. Okay, do another mirror. Okay, it's looking pretty terrible, but actually we're moving quite a ways here. And this is sort of a blocking stage. Okay, go back in and continue the refinement, getting some of the interior mouth at this point. Let's start with these upper lips actually. Okay, so we're getting close to being done with the very rough head weighting. Okay, do another mirror. Okay, as rough as it looks, it's actually moving along quite well. Okay, so now we're going to switch. We're going to leave our opacity at 1, leave our brush as a solid brush. Operation, we'll leave it replaced, but we're going to set our value to 0.5 and start averaging out some of these areas. For instance, this the cranium here, the base of the cranium. So for this motion, this line here, we're going to add 50% of the head 0-1 joint into this area. Okay, now I'm adding 0.25. I'll work in 25% increments. And we're actually going to do a bit of work on the throat later on, so this is a pretty rough here. I'll go 0.125. Those are typically the values I'll work in when going through this rough blocking weighting pass. 100%, sometimes 75%, but often I'll jump right to 50%, and then 25%, and sometimes 0.125. So I'm adding in some of the first neck joint. That was the 0.125 weight. Okay, so although it's still rough, you know, Done a little bit of work here on the throat. Still have quite a bit more to do, but the base of this neck isn't looking too bad. Okay, so the next area I'm going to do is start averaging out the weights around the mouth here. Just lower down the size of the brush. Okay, so we're going to add 50% of this, the weight here, and pull it down using the jaw and lower lips. Okay, so here we can see we're sort of splitting the difference there. So now I'm going to add 25% of the weight to the same joints. Just gradually pull this down. Once again, this is very rough weighting here. Let's go to that 0.125 weighting. Okay, so now we're going to pull up on upwards using the upper lips to pull it upwards a bit. So I'm adding 0.25. And don't be afraid to experiment at this stage. I mean, since we're working with such broad values, it's pretty easy to go back in and change those. Okay, do a quick mirror. So select that quick select set and edit smooth skin, mirror skin weights. Okay, though it's not great, you can see that fairly quickly we can get a pretty quick adjustment to the head here. Once again, you can see we're going to have a lot of work to do on the mouth here. That's our first pass weighting, just going from the default bind and then working out the major issues on the head weighting. Much of our time is going to be spent in the mouth and lip area. We're going to need to get this a nice even rounded shape so that the upper and lower lips, those influences are spread broadly throughout the lips. The jawline is going to need quite a bit of work. The chin, the lips once again, and also the ears, which we haven't touched. But for now, for first pass weighting, that's looking pretty good. And so we're going to end this now, and then in the next lesson, go into further refinement. So here we've just done the broad strokes. Next, we're going to follow that up with going in and actually painting in a lot of the detail and arriving at more or less the final smooth skin weighting.